The schedule for the day, we're going to begin with a basic overview of the accordance interface. We'll be covering Accordance 12. I will try to reference older versions if you've got older versions, but we'll go until about 10:15, 10:30, and kind of give an overview of the interface. And then we'll take about a 15-minute break. And then in the second session, until lunchtime, we'll begin to go over searching and using tools and some of the nuts and bolts of using accordance. Then we'll take a break for lunch, and after lunch, I will try to cover Greek and Hebrew. How many of you are primarily interested in Greek and Hebrew? Okay, about half of you. So those of you who, if it's all Greek to you, you can take a longer lunch and come back a little later, and that way I can give the time necessary to those who do need the Greek and Hebrew. And then that'll go from 1 until about 2:30. Then after that, we'll take a 15-minute break, and beyond that, we'll go into some of the fun stuff, the graphic resources, the atlas, the timeline, photo guide, photo museum, and so on. By the end of the day, when we're all tired and oversaturated, I'll try to cover the lighter stuff. And then the last little bit, I'll basically do whatever you all want me to do. So if there's an itch that I haven't scratched, feel free to ask me to cover that. Okay. I'm sorry about the arrangement here. I'm sort of at a disadvantage because I can't see half of the room. So if you're looking lost in the first couple of rows on this side, I'm not going to see it. So be sure to raise your hand. Rex or Helen will come and help you out, and if they need to stop me, then they can stop me. Otherwise, the rest of you that I can see, this is your training seminar. So I want to meet your needs and not run through some shtick that I have prepared. So if I'm going too fast, stop me, say, whoa, 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 I didn't catch that. If there's something that you're not understanding or that you want me to go over again, feel free to ask me to, all right? Sometimes I may say, can Helen or Rex help you individually? But 9 times out of 10, it'll be something that other people in the seminar will need help with as well, and I'll go ahead and cover that. Okay? All right, so I think we've got all the business stuff out of the way. So let's talk about Accordance and Accordance 12. Those of you who had Accordance 11, you can see Accordance 12 looks very much like 11. We haven't made major visual changes, although you'll find little tweaks and enhancements throughout the interface. And of course, there are some major new features in Accordance 12 that we'll explore. So to begin, when you first launch Accordance, you should see something like this. You'll get your default Bible text that will launch, and you'll get a workspace with a toolbar. You may or may not see the instant details down here at the bottom of the screen. And before I go any further, let's talk about how you set your default Bible. If you go into Preferences, now on the Mac, it's in the Accordance menu. On Windows, it's in the Edit menu. But if you go into the Preferences and go to Search Tabs, that's where you can set your default Bible text. I'm going to go ahead and switch to ESV because I know everybody should have ESV. And so now I've switched my default to the ESV. So if I close that tab and just do Command N to open a new tab, you see it opens with the ESV. So now, until I change that, every time I launch Accordance, I'll get the ESV as my default startup. You can also set how you want Accordance to start up. So you can specify, if you always want exact search versus flex searching, you can You can check that. You can do all kinds of things to customize your search tab so that it comes up with the preferences that you want. And then in the, let's see, in the general settings, you can specify how you want Accordance to start up. Do you want it to start up with your default search tab? That will open up just your default Bible and fill the workspace with that search tab. You can also do a default session, and if you do a default session, basically it will give you this little button that says Set Default Session. And so what you would do is you would organize your windows the way that you want them to be. So let's say that I always want to start with the ESV, and then in parallel I want the Hebrew Bible and the Greek Septuagint. All right, so I always want to start with this particular session, this particular arrangement. I can go into Preferences, choose Default Session, click Set Default Session, and then that's what will come up every time I launch Accordance. Okay, so you can do that. If you're like me, I'm very I don't know. I'm all over the place in my use of Accordance. So just a second. So when I'm using Accordance both to prepare Sunday school and to do various things with work. I'm testing new modules. I never know what I'm going to be doing. So I just have Accordance start with my last session. Whatever I had open the last time I quit Accordance, that's what comes up. And of course, every once in a while I have to clear it all out because it tends to get to be a mess. But you can do last session. And then you can also open up with a daily reading, which is any of our devotional modules. Or you can specify a favorite workspace. So if you set up a workspace and save it as a favorite, you can say, I always want to start up with that. Do you have a question?
Presumably you could still have a dozen different workspaces that you could still save and then open as per
Sure.
Accordance 11.
Right.
This is just setting what would immediately come up if you click on the Accordance application button.
Right. This is
workspace.
right. So this is what comes up when you launch Accordance. Yeah, so he was saying, we have the workspaces item in the toolbar, and these are a bunch of different saved workspaces that I've saved for various purposes. And I can open up any of those workspaces just by selecting it from the toolbar. So you're not limited by making this choice. I just want to give you a way to customize the way Accordance launches when you first launch Accordance. Okay? All right, so let me, in fact, what did I end up doing here? Let me just open a new window again. All right, so let's go over let me actually get rid of that workspace. There we go. That's what I was trying to get back to. All right, so let's go over the workspace and the sections of the workspace, and then how the workspace keeps your resources organized. So we'll begin with the toolbar, which is here along the top of the workspace. And most of the features that you need access to quickly are available in the toolbar, and you can customize the toolbar to your heart's content and put whatever else you want up there. But our default toolbar arrangement begins with the new tab icon. And this is basically just a menu that gives you access to all of your Accordance resources. And they're all organized according to categories. So if I want to open another Bible, NIV or something, then I'm opening a new tab that contains the NIV. All right? So that's the new tab icon. If I go to Dictionaries and do Anchor, I'm going to open a new tab with Anchor Bible Dictionary. Now, it opened Anchor over here in a separate area of the window as opposed to a tab in the same area that I was in. Different kinds of resources will be opened in different zones of the workspace. All right, so because I opened the NIV, and the NIV is a text, a Bible text, and I already had a zone of the workspace dedicated to Bible texts, it opened the NIV as a tab within that existing zone. When I opened a dictionary, which is what we call a tool, a secondary resource that gives you information about Bible text, it opens in a separate zone. Okay. If I were to open something like the Atlas, all right, I'll go down to Map, and I'll choose a map background. That's another kind of resource, so it opens in another zone. Okay. So if you wonder why things are being placed in certain places, it's basically Accordance is looking at different kinds of resources and saying, okay, here we're doing something a little different. Let's open it in a separate zone. And you can rearrange your zones and put everything together. You can do all kinds of things. So if I say, you know what, the map here is getting too small, I can grab the title bar of that zone and drag it up into, oh, that's interesting. Let me drag that back. Oh, that's really interesting. Now it's telling me I don't have enough room. All right, let's try this again. All right, so I've opened the map. If I grab the title bar and drag it up into the top part of the window, I can basically get a target for where that map is going to go, all right, which zone it's going to go into. So this would create another vertically oriented zone over here. Or I can drag it into the area where the tabs would appear and add it as a tab. Now that's interesting. I'm not sure why it's not letting me do that. One of the things that you will find, and I'm sort of limited because I'm attached to the projector, so it's scaled down my my screen width, and so I have less room to move things around. But if Accordance doesn't have room to add the item to a particular zone or whatever, it'll give you that error and say there's not enough room for that particular item. So let's try it over here. Let's see if we can do it over here. Okay, there we go. I had enough room in that zone. So you see I just dragged the map up to the tab area and then dropped it there and now added it as a tab within that particular zone. Okay, so you're not limited to where you want to put these things. You can rearrange your workspace however you like. Okay. All right, so so that's the new tab icon on the toolbar. If we go to the next item, that's the library. And the library is, in a very real sense, it sort of runs parallel to the new tab menu. This is where all of your resources are organized. And so you can go into the library and you have the different types of resources listed here. So texts are Bible texts, but they're also other primary documents. So non-canonical Dead Sea Scrolls, or the Hebrew Mishnah, or the Apostolic Fathers, or whatever. You know, these are not the same as tools. They're not, you know, we might study the Apostolic Fathers to understand roughly the world in which the Bible was written, but the Apostolic Fathers are not necessarily a commentary on the Bible. They're not necessarily a dictionary defining words and so on. They're primary documents that we would study in their own right. The other thing about text is that they often come in multiple languages, right? Apostolic Fathers in Greek and also in English translation. Sometimes in, not the Apostolic Fathers, but some will come in Latin and so on. So So those are texts, and that's where you look for those primary documents. And then tools are further down. Those are secondary resources that give you more information about the text. So dictionaries define words in text. Commentaries comment on particular verses in a particular text, and so on. And so basically anything that's not a text is a tool, and those are sorted into various categories. So you can see I've got dictionaries, commentaries, grammars, and here's a little trick in the library. All of these categories are open. If I want to close them all so I can see all the categories, just option click on the little disclosure triangle, and now they all close. They all collapse, and I can see them all. Okay, or if I wanted to open them all, I can option click and notice that texts are open. Why isn't this scrolling? All right, I'm not sure. I lost my scroll bar there. But let's see. Let me try that again. It didn't open it. All right, there we go. It opened that one. Now let's see if it opened. Yes, it opened commentaries and all of the others as well. Okay, so if you option click the disclosure triangle, it will either collapse or expand all of them. All right, so here are your different tools: dictionaries, commentaries, grammars, lexicons, and so on. And within each commentary, within each category in your library, you can actually organize your modules into subfolders and so on. So you can see I've got a ton of commentaries, and so I've got them divided into these different categories. We'll open up expository. So, you know, my main sort of expositional commentaries are here. Then I get into my more technical commentaries and so on. And we'll look more at organizing your resources later on. But you can see, you know, I might even want to further subdivide this folder. So let's say I want to put all of my Anchor Bible commentaries together. I can go down to the little gear menu here and do Add Folder, and I'll just call this Anchor Bible. And then I can just drag the items that I want into the Anchor Bible folder. All right, now if you see the horizontal line, that means it's going to go under that folder. You want the little box around the folder, and that will tell you it's going to go into the folder. And now you can see I've got all of those items in my Anchor Bible folder. All right. Now if I go to the New tab and go into Commentaries and go into Technical Commentaries, we should see Anchor Bible as a submenu within that folder. Okay, so when you create a folder in the library, you're creating a sub-menu in your various menus to access your resources. Okay? And if I decide, you know what, I don't like this folder, I'm going to delete this folder. I can do remove item, or you can hold down the command key and hit the delete button. And notice it doesn't get rid of the modules that were in that folder, it just gets rid of the folder. Okay? So the modules are now back in that submenu that I've created, that subfolder. All right, any questions? Okay. All right, so that's how you organize your modules in the library. You can also use these buttons down here at the bottom to filter your library. So I can show everything. I can see just the text or the tools. When I lost my scroll bar, I went down here and clicked on Tools, and that got me my scroll bar back. So we'll have to report that little bug to Joel. All right, so let's do Show All here. The other thing that you can do in the library is search for a particular module. So let's say that I don't know, I'm trying to think of something relatively new. We've just released so many new things. Let's do, I don't know, let's just do Word Biblical Commentary. I'm just going to type Word, and it didn't come up with Word Biblical Commentary. Yeah. But that's strange. Okay. Here's why it didn't come up with Word. All right, so I will use my mistakes as an opportunity to teach you how the searching in the library works. So I typed Word. I didn't get what I expected, Word Biblical Commentary. The reason is you can actually filter the search to search by a variety of different categories. So right now I have module name selected as the category that I'm searching. The module name is sort of the short kind of cryptic name that we give to the modules. It's actually the name of the file that's stored on your hard drive, okay? And so you can see each of these, it's this gray title right here. Each of these has the word Word in it, and so those were found. But we also have a library name that is sort of broader, more descriptive title. And then, of course, we have the full title of the module. So if I went to module title, you'll see now anything for which the complete title of the resource has Word will be found. This is the complete title. So if you click on info on any item, you'll get the full title of that resource. That's a little too long to have in all the accordance menus and to have in the library and so on. So we sort of have this mediating title, the library name. And if I do that, then it will find Word Biblical NT, Word Biblical OT, because that's what's primarily used in the library. All right, so yes.
Apparently it looks quite different on a PC.
Okay.
It says module title. It didn't say library name.
You only have module name and module title? Okay. I'll have to take a look at it at the break and see what we can figure out. All right, so most of the time I will just do any category, and that's why I expected Word to come up when I typed Word. And so you'll see here you have module name, then module title, and Word came up in that. Then anything that wasn't covered by the module title would have come up under library name and so on. And then I have publisher, so Word Aflame Press, and then I have a Book of Mormon module that I created for myself that we don't have for sale. So you may see some things you go, wait, what? All right, so so that's how you search the library. We also have a couple of new categories that you can use in Accordance 12. One of which is tags, and the result that you get with tags may be a little uneven because we haven't been systematically adding tags the way we should have. But if I were to search for, I don't know, let's try something like, well, I don't have any Arminian. Let's try Lutheran. All right, so you can see I do Lutheran tag. We had the sense to tag Linsky's commentary as Lutheran. There are other Lutheran resources that we didn't tag as Lutheran. So we'll be expanding and updating those modules to use this because it was a feature in development that we weren't really taking full advantage of. So you have tags that you can use, or if I do something like expositional, I'll get those commentaries or resources that have been tagged as expositional and so on. And then we have books, texts, and books, tools. And what these are designed to let you do is to search buy a scriptural book and find resources that comment on that particular book. So if I do something like, well, let's do Bell and the Dragon. And this will give me all of my texts that contain Bell and the Dragon. All right. So rather than me trying to remember, okay, which text has apocryphal books and which one doesn't, and so on, I can just type the book. Or I can do tools, and I'll actually get those commentaries that have commentary on Bell and the Dragon. So I hope you can see how helpful that can be. But if you just do any category, all of those things will come up for you. All right, so that's searching the library. We've talked a little bit about organizing the library. You can, let's see. A couple other things that you can do with the library is add dividers. So when you're organizing your modules, you'll see this if I go up to text. You can see I've got a divider line here that I've added between the folders containing my Greek, Hebrew, and Septuagint. And so when I go into the new tab menu, you'll see modern Bibles, Greek, Hebrew, and other texts, and then that divider line. Actually, I think that divider line's irrelevant now because we now have a divider line there anyway. But if I were to add a divider line within dictionaries, for example. All right, so I'm going to add a divider underneath the new Unger's Bible Dictionary. If I go into dictionaries, now you can see I've got my divider line. So if I wanted to offset the 3 dictionaries that I use the most, so my eye can track very quickly to that item, I can add that divider line and so on. Yes?
So when you buy a commentary set and then the book is added to that set, can you have to put a new folder, or can you put that new commentary into the set? Like with the word biblical, I think I bought Joshua or something like that after I bought the set. Now it shows up as separate.
Right.
Is there a way for me to put that into one?
No, unless you buy the complete set, you'd have to deal with those individual modules. But you can, organize your library so that the two are together. And the other thing that if we as the developers did it correctly, you should be able to add that in when you're scrolling. So for example, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Well, let's just do, let me add a parallel here. And I'm going to add Word Biblical Commentary in. But Word, even if you have everything, is split between Old Testament and New Testament, right? So if I open up the Word Biblical OT, I can scroll along with the text until I get to Malachi. All right, and then once I get to Matthew, there we go. Now it's no longer scrolling because I don't have the New Testament added in. Well, if you've got a resource that is part of a collection and where the developers of those modules have specified, okay, this is all Word, and so it all belongs together, you can go into this little icon here that looks like 2 books, and you can add in other Word commentary portions that will then scroll along. So if I add in Word Biblical NT, now I basically have everything. So if I go into Malachi, I'm in Word OT. If I go into Matthew, I'm in Word NT. So be aware of that you can, at least for the sake of scrolling and so on, combine the two. Okay? All right, so we've covered the library. The daily reading, I won't spend a whole lot of time on, but if you click on that, it will open a new resource with your default daily reading module. This came up with Spurgeon's morning and evening, and notice it knows that it's the morning, so it gave me the morning reading, and it will also look for any scripture references in that devotion and then give me the text. All right. So if it's something different, like a reading plan, um, uh, the icon on the toolbar just gives me my default daily reading. I can access all my devotional modules by going into the window menu and go down to daily reading, and you can see we've got a bunch of different devotional tools. And so I could do something like let's see, I should have chronological readings or through the Bible readings. Let's see what we get with that. All right, so this is basically a through the Bible in a year kind of reading plan. And so it's given me the entire book of Philippians. And so that's where this second pane becomes helpful, because now I've got my daily reading for the day, and I can read through that right there. So you can access any of your daily readings through the menu here. Yes?
When you do the combined resource thing you just did for the Old Testament and New Testament, is that tied to a particular workspace, or is that system-wide?
No, it's just that one pane that you've opened in the workspace.
So there's no way to make that permanent?
No, not that I'm aware of. Now, what you could do is, create a workspace that you save, and then you access that workspace, or make it your preferred workspace that always comes up with Word. Right.
As long as you don't close that.
Right. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it'd be nice if maybe we could.
System-wide setting to do that. That would be
Well, let's see. Yeah, what you can do, and this I'm forgetting, is you can go into combined resources and go into manage combined resources, and you can actually, once you've set up something, here you see WBC, OT, and NT are set up there. So you can sort of preset your combined resources and then just access those. Right. Yes. Go ahead.
My daily readings only has chronological and devotional. Is that because I haven't purchased those?
Right. That would just be the package that that you have. Yeah. So and you can purchase individual devotions. You can purchase packages that contain a bunch of devotionals and so on. Every once in a while, we'll offer some for free or inexpensive price and so on. So that's how I've collected all these. But the other thing that you can do, if you want to set your default devotional, you would go into Preferences, and I think it's under Reading and Research. And so here's where I can set my default devotional. And so that would then become, if I did, let's do something like Daily Feast, which is, let's see, I think it has patristic readings and things like that. So now I've set that as my default devotional. If I click that, now it's come up with that particular devotion, and you can see it's even based on the lectionary, so it knows it's year C and it's Friday and so on, and it's pulled that up. So that's what will now come up every time I click this icon, or if I go into the menu and go to default devotional. Okay, in the back and then here.
I didn't follow you when you went to combined resources. I didn't see what exactly you did and how you popped open it.
Okay. What I did was I went to add parallel, and I added Word Biblical Old Testament as my parallel pane. And because that only covers the Old Testament, it will only scroll along with the Old Testament portion of my Bible. once you have a resource that is part of a collection, you'll get this little icon right here, right next to the gear menu in that pane. And it looks like two books sort of stacked on top of each other. And that's where you go to add any additional tools. And then you can actually turn it into a combined resource that is always combined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Were you gonna go into more detail on that later, on the managed combined resources?
I wasn't going to, but I can cover it at the break for anybody who wants a quick tutorial. Yes.
My laptop is not much longer for this world. One of my concerns has been that I'm doing all of this work to set everything up, and then when I go to have to go to a new one and reinstall, how much of the stuff that I've synchronized in Dropbox actually goes to the next version, or how much do I have to completely rebuild all over again?
That is more a question for Joel. The Dropbox syncing and all that, I'm not sure about, but it should keep all of your preferences and your settings. And you can always, if it comes to that, go into the nuts and bolts of your hard drive and find your settings files and bring those in. So we'll make sure you get the stuff you've worked on transitioned over. Just do it before the hard drive dies, right? So, all right. All right. So that's the daily reading. The instant details icon on the toolbar just toggles the instant details on and off. All right. That's that. Let me close the library here. That's this area down at the bottom of the screen. And I can move it over to the side if I prefer having it on the side, and so on. But the instant details gives me instant. I can actually break it out into a floating palette as well. I clicked the wrong icon to do that. So let me click it back to be at the bottom. Yes.
How did you put it on the side again?
There's a little icon right here under the A's that has sort of a vertical and horizontal bar, and you just click that to toggle back and forth. Then this icon at the bottom is what you use to sort of split it out into a separate floating palette. So if you don't want it to be part of your workspace, you can have it sort of tucked off to the side. All right, and now I just lost my...
Is there any way to just have it like disappearing so that when you hover over something, it just appears and then it disappears when you move away from that hover point?
Yeah, there is, and there we go. All right, let me open this back up. So if I have it as a separate floating palette, all right, so I can move this wherever I want. There's a preference, and you're getting close to stumping the teacher here. If I go into instant details, you can do automatically fade when floating. All right, so this is in your preferences under instant details, automatically fade when floating. And so it fades out until I hover over something that has information, and then should fade out again. Okay, so you can do it that way. You can also click and hold on any item to get the instant details as a little popover. So just click and hold on a word, and it'll give you the instant details. Okay, so there are a number of ways to get your instant details if you don't want them taking up screen real estate. I like to have them on the bottom because I don't tend to like them covering up the text, right, with a popover. And I don't really want them taking up a huge amount of the screen space, so I just kind of keep them at the bottom. If I get to something where I want to see more, then I will click and hold maybe and get the popover, and that's big enough that I can read it, or I'll go to the resource itself. But the instant details will give you instant information about anything that has instant information to show you. So if I hover over a word in a Bible text with key numbers, this is the ESV has been tagged with Strong's numbers to connect me to the underlying Greek and Hebrew. And so in a key numbered text like the ESV, I'll get that information. If I have a Greek text open, let's do NA28 Greek, then I will get the full parsing information for the Greek word. I'll get its lexical form. Let's get out of a list of names. I'll get its lexical form. I'll get its parsing. I'll get its syntactical information if there's syntax information to be had. Yes? Oh, Helen or Rex, can you help her out, please? Thank you. All right, so if I'm in the atlas and I hover over any place on the map, I'll get the elevation in meters and feet, and I'll get the coordinates in longitude and latitude, and in UTM, which stands for something like Universal Transverse Mercator. I think that's what GPS uses. And then if you're in Israel, Israel actually has their own grid coordinates that they use, and so you'll get the Israel grid system. And if you hover over a label, you'll get a link to whatever your default resource is that you've set up from the atlas. So mine is currently set to the Photo Guide 4, and it's going to that. I need to actually upgrade it to the new Photo Guide. But so, instant information right here. If I say, here's an example where, all right, I'm getting the Photo Guide article on the Mediterranean Sea. I can only read so much because I've got my instant details small and at the bottom of the screen. So here's where I might just click and hold, and then I get an instant details window that I can scroll, or you can actually double click and it'll open the resource, and then I can read, to my heart's content and see the pictures and so on. Okay, so you've got the instant details is meant to be sort of a quick lookup and then to give you a gateway into getting that information in depth and so on. All right, so that's the instant details. Analytics we'll cover in a bit. Analytics basically give you the analytics for a search result. So right now you can see that everything's grayed out because I haven't done a search. And so if I were to do a search like love, now I get the analytics and I can choose various kinds of analytics. So if I want a hits graph, that's going to give me the distribution of love across my search range. All right, so I can see where love is used most frequently in the ESV. Okay, and so on. You'll also get the analytics right here in the window. So whenever I do a search, the analytics are right there. That's where I tend to go for the analytics. But we've added them to the toolbar to make them a little more discoverable. The info pane lets you open a parallel pane for, well, let's see. Let me go ahead and click it and open the info pane. And so this is the info pane for my current window, my current tab that's at the top. And it's giving me the info pane that is sort of a pane that aggregates resources to help you discover information about your text. Okay, so before I get into the info pane, let me talk a little bit about panes and tabs and zones. I've done that a little bit, but and I've been opening panes, but I haven't really talked about them. So we've seen the difference between zones and tabs. This is a zone. Right now I have a workspace, which is kind of my container window. And it has a single zone with two tabs, one with the ESV, one with the NIV. All right? And I showed you how if I open up a dictionary, like Anchor Bible Dictionary, because that's a different kind of resource, it opens a different kind of zone. If I open another dictionary, it will open as a tab within that zone that had my dictionary. So Accordance tries to keep your tabs organized according to the zone that makes the most sense. If I open up a commentary, let's do Expositor's Bible Commentary, that's a tool, and so it will open up with my other tools, okay, in this particular zone. I can, however, break a tab out of a zone. So if I want to keep my commentaries and my dictionaries separate, I'm just grabbing the tab and dragging it down here to the lower part of the window. And so now I've got my commentary in one zone and my two dictionaries in a different zone. Okay. Now watch what happens when I open up another commentary. Let's go into technical and we'll open NICNIT. It opened in the zone with the other commentary. Okay, so it recognizes, oh, he's got commentaries broken out of the main tool zone. So when he opens a new commentary, he probably wants it with his commentary, so it's going to open it there. I can also do things like, let's open a Greek text. Let's go to Greek. We'll open up the NA28. All right, so I've opened up my Greek text. And then if I open up the Septuagint as a separate tab, you'll see it opens up in that same text zone. So it'll open all my texts in a single zone if that's, if I keep opening text, I'll have that one text zone. But I can break out my Greek text. Oh, come on. Why is there not enough room? Let's try this again. All right, so I've broken out my Greek text here. I'm going to close Rolf's here and just open a new tab with Rolf's. And notice it recognizes, oh, he's got a Greek text in a separate zone from all the other texts. He's opening another Greek text, so we'll put it with the Greek text. All right. Now let's say I open up a Greek lexicon. So I'll open up BDAG, and it opens up in the Tools tab that I had with Anchor and ISBE. But I can drag BDAG into my Greek text zone, and now I've got a zone that has Greek text and a Greek lexicon. And let's see, it should open, if I open another Greek lexicon, yep, it opened NIDNIT down there in my Greek resources zone. Okay, so Accordance can't anticipate all the different ways that you might want to organize your tabs and zones, but it'll do a pretty good job of guessing at, well, he's got Greek stuff together, let's open Greek stuff there. He's got Hebrew stuff together, let's open Hebrew stuff there. He's got commentaries together, we'll open a new commentary there. Okay? But of course, you're not limited to, you can mix and match stuff however you want. But that's how the zones work. Okay? So we've looked at, right now we have a workspace with 4 zones, each with a couple of tabs. Let me also show you, you can see we're getting to where our zones are now so small that they're not particularly useful. Expositors, I've got the title of, I can't even get the whole title in, right? So, this is not very useful to be able to read a whole lot of text. So, if I want to focus on a particular zone, I can go into that zone, and in the toolbar of that zone, you'll see this little icon that looks like a series of concentric squares kind of opening out. And that's the Magnify Zone button. And so if I click that, that will magnify that particular zone so that I can concentrate on that. So I can have something in an itty-bitty zone and then magnify that and see it and be able to focus on that. And then when I'm ready, I can minimize that zone and go back to my main arrangement. Okay, so it's sort of a temporary way to zoom that in and then zoom back out on it. Okay, yes?
Do that again?
Sure. Hover over the zone, and in the upper right-hand corner, it may be left on Windows. Things get reversed on Mac and Windows, but if you click on that icon, it will magnify the zone. And then if you go back, it will minimize the zone. Okay? And by the way, all of these little tricks are always in your menus up at the top of Accordance. So there's nothing that's a little dead end that you'll only find in one spot. You can always go to the menus. If you go, I know there was a way to do something with a zone and make it bigger, but I can't remember where that little icon is or what to click. Go into the menu, and if you go into tabs and zones, you'll see magnify front zone. Oh, okay, that's that's what I wanted. And you've even got keyboard shortcuts that that you can use. Oh, and by the way, if you don't like our keyboard shortcuts, this is a new feature in Accordance 12. We now let you customize your keyboard shortcuts. And so you can go in and change any of these and assign keyboard shortcuts to items that don't have a shortcut. Our big dilemma is we now have so many things in Accordance. Trying to come up with a keyboard shortcut for everything's next to impossible. But you may not use Command 4 for whatever Command 4 is, and so you may want to reassign that to something else. Okay. Yes.
How do you view the keyboard shortcuts currently? If you have Accordance 11?
If you have Accordance 11, you're stuck with what we assign.
How do I see them?
Just go into the menus. So if you go into Window, you'll find anything that has to do with managing windows. So tabs and zones inside the window menu will show you select next tab, select previous tab, detach tab, magnify front zone, and so on. And you'll get this little, it's kind of cryptic, you'll get the little squiggle there. That means the options.
There's no page that opens up and shows all of your...
Actually, if you go into Help, go into Accordance Help, go under Comprehensive Reference, and you get into Keyboards and Keyboard Shortcuts, and it will give you every keyboard shortcut that if you hold down the Option key when you click this item, and all of those are right there. So yeah. All right. Yes.
How do you open the zone again?
The zones will open automatically as you open new resources. So, here's another little trick. I've got my main zone, and I've opened all of these different zones. Let's say I want to consolidate these zones. I've got 4. I don't need that many. I can grab, say, my commentary zone and drag it up until I get into the tab area of another zone, and it should add all of those tabs into that particular zone. Now notice it's only got room to display 3 tabs, so you'll get this little arrow that will let me go to the 4th tab, which was ISB revised. All right, so you can combine zones. I can combine this with that. And let's see. Not sure why it's taken so long.
Just what, as another trick,
There we go.
you always prefer to have things the basically your tabs the full screen. You can kind of override the creation of zones by clicking on the plus that's next to your last tab. Then it'll automatically, no matter what you open, it'll create that new tab in the zone where you are right there.
Okay.
If you don't even want to mess with the whole zone thing, that's how you can override is using that small plus
Right.
next to your tabs.
So what he's saying is if I want a dictionary in this particular zone, I just go to Dictionaries, pick my dictionary, and it goes right there. Okay, so you can manage where an item goes using that plus icon. You can also go into the preferences, and if you go under workspaces, I think it is, you can set a default maximum number of zones. So if I say I only want one zone, then anything I open will open as a tab in a single zone, and I won't have to mess with zones at all. Or I can say, you know what, if it gets beyond 4 zones, it gets to be way too small. So I'm going to set my maximum at 4. And then anytime you open a resource, if it wants to open a new zone and it's going beyond the 4, it's going to stick it in another zone. Okay.
Okay, it's been a couple of years since I've used it heavily. In the past, I think I've done this kind of thing by creating separate workspaces.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a workspace with all my user stuff, all my, is this a more efficient way of doing that?
It really depends on how separate you want to keep things. This was designed to be able to manage all these resources in a single window interface. You know, if you have separate workspaces, then you get into having to manage those windows, and one goes on top of another, and so on. So so it's really a matter of personal preference. Right. So you can set your maximum number of zones. You can manage your workspaces here in this preference panel. All right. So but in terms of the creation of the zones, they will open if I open a resource. They'll open according to the way Accordance has been designed to open. So here I've got one, well, let me go back to one that just has English texts. So how I got all those zones was I opened different kinds of resources. And so I opened a dictionary. I don't have currently a zone that houses any tools, so it opens a tools zone. So that's how that's kind of managed. So all of that was sort of a circuitous detour. I've gone into workspaces, zones within a workspace, which are basically just portions of the workspace, tabs within the workspace, and then the last level is panes within a tab. And so within your search tabs, the ones in which you access Bible texts, you have the Add Parallel button, and you can add additional panes to your tab. So let's start with something like just a commentary, Expositor's Bible Commentary. I'm going to open as a tab, and you can, as a pane, and you can see when I scroll the text, the commentary automatically keeps up with the text. All right, so that's one advantage of a pane. It's automatically synced with your text. Okay, and you can, of course, open as many parallel panes as you want. I can add another commentary here, and I can sort of create my own study Bible or parallel Bible. I can add another Bible text. Let's do ESV here. All right, so now I have a tab with 4 different panes. I can rearrange the panes. If you grab in the blank area of a pane and I want my Bible text together, I can drag that over and so on. I can drag the commentaries down, at least I usually can. This may be, I may not be able to drag it down because I've actually set a preference. If you go into Preferences, and I think it's under, well, maybe it is Search Tabs. Oh, Helen, help me out. Do you know where the Always Display as a vertical pane is? I've got it set somewhere. You can set your panes so that they always appear vertical, and I don't remember where that is. Yeah, I can't remember. There's a preference to keep your panes vertically oriented, and I can't remember where it is. Yeah.
Previously, I saw it.
Did you see it?
The search text in the search tabs?
Let's.
I don't think it was there. No, the search tabs.
Yeah, that's what I had thought, and I missed it. Always display search text pane. No.
Okay, go back to appearance.
Is it open in general?
Tools and notes and
It's in general.
In general.
In general.
Yeah, open parallel.
Okay, there we go. Open parallel tools and notes and vertical orientation. So you can see we've got so many preferences, I can't keep track of them all. But I've got this set so that parallel tools are always vertically oriented. Let's see if I turn that off, if I can add it below. No, I guess it's not because of that. But if I open another reference tool, let's just do another commentary. It should open it down below. That's what I don't like, and that's what that preference is designed to accommodate. We, by default, will open commentaries and user notes sort of at a second level. I don't like it because I end up with a wide bit of text that I have to scroll and scroll and scroll. I'd rather have a taller parallel column where I can actually read the commentary. So that's why I have that set in my preferences. So that was under General, Open Parallel Tools and Notes and Vertical Orientation. All right, so now if I open up that commentary again, it's going to tell me I don't have room because, let's try it again, because I've got too many panes open. So now you can see it open vertically instead of horizontally. All right, so those are panes within a tab, within a zone, within a workspace. So you've got all of these different layers. And I just want you to understand the distinction between them. Yes?
I noticed when you have text that you have a background color, which is a nice distinction. Is that preferences text as well?
You mean the, yes, that's, right. It's under set text pane display. You can set it for that particular pane. I'm just going to customize theme and change the background. So if I want, I don't know, let's do book. And you'll get a different color and so on. And you can set that preference program-wide in your preferences under text display. Okay. All right, so what else was I going to show you? Oh, all right, so I've got EBC displayed as a pane. Let's look at the difference between that and displaying EBC as a separate tab. So I'm going to the new tab icon on the toolbar, and I'm going into my commentaries, and I'm going to open EBC. And you'll see here the commentary opens in its own zone, because this is not like creating my own little parallel Bible that has EBC comments on the bottom of the page. That's what opening it as a pane is like. And so it's always running parallel with my text. This is like going to the shelf and pulling EBC off the shelf and starting to leaf through it. The advantage that I have in opening EBC as a separate tab is that I can search it. So if I want to search for anything within the commentary, I can do that. I can't search the commentary within the pane. It's just sort of, it's a slave to the Bible text that I'm accessing. All right, so that's one main difference. The other main difference is this. You can see it's not scrolling along when it's in a separate zone because it doesn't really know that it belongs to that Bible text. That said, you can actually automatically, well, you can manually tie a tab to a Bible text by going into Window, go into Tabs and Zones, and go under Tab Ties, and I can say, okay, well, tie this to NIV with enhanced GK numbers. And now you'll see the little tie icon that tells me that this is going to scroll along. So now, as I scroll, I've got that scrolling along. So you can kind of have the best of both worlds. I can still search this over here by tying it.
Could you do that again, please?
Yeah. So just go into the Window menu, Tabs and Zones, Tab Ties, and then choose the name of the tab that I want to tie this to. So I chose NIV 2011. All right, let me do that again. Window, Tabs and Zones, Tab Ties, and then it was tied to NIV. It's no longer showing. So if I do remove all ties, now I've untied it. Now it's not going to scroll. You can also do it in...
Like there's the text down the drop down there, where it says ESV or NIV.
Yeah, you can also go here in the tab and do tab ties right from the tab. And so tie to Expositor's Bible Commentary. Okay? And I'm, again, kind of getting ahead of myself here. If I decide to amplify to a commentary, let's say I select 1 Peter 3:1 here, and I go into the amplify icon of the toolbar, and I'll explain this after the break. I need to give you guys a break. But if I amplify to a commentary, it will automatically it'll open that commentary in a separate zone, a separate tab, but it will automatically tie it to my text. Because here I opened the commentary and I said, I want to look up this commentary on this text. So there it assumes, oh, well then you want the commentary to follow along with the text. And so it automatically tied it, and I don't even have to manually tie it. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. I'm kind of jumping around to a lot of different things, but I want you to understand that opening a resource in its own tab lets you search that resource. It sort of maintains some independence.